Hi and welcome to today's video where we're going to be making a floating shelf for my wife, somewhere for her to store her new pans. Now over the years as a builder I've fitted and removed many different kinds of floating shelves, all on fancy brackets and different kinds of hardware. But a few years ago I took some shelves down in a front room and came across these floating shelf, I don't suppose you call them brackets, supports, and a very genius idea I thought. So I've picked up a couple from Amazon, you'll see them a bit later on in the video, and we're going to be using these today to fit the shelf to the wall. So to start with, I had a scrappy bit of oak lying around. In fact, I have loads of oak. I picked up a load of oak a few months back, so pretty much everything I make over the next few years is going to be oak. This had a little bit of woodworm in the end, but I decided to plane it up and see how much would be left once we got rid of all of that. Now everything I do today can be done with very basic tools, mostly all hand tools, but you can also buy some wood all prepared and ready to go. Now fortunately I've got my new thicknesser and planer which I recently purchased. I'll leave a link to the video to that below. In fact, any tools I use today, there will be videos and links below that you can check them out. One of the main reasons I bought this thicknesser and planer is because of all this oak that I've purchased. But I won't talk too much about the process of getting the shelf ready. We'll just sort of zip through that. Finishing on the planer, having three sides nice and ready to go, took it over to the table saw and squared up the fourth edge. Then my first go on my new sled, just to tidy up the ends. There'll be a link to that video below as well. I was just checking how square the ends were, and yep, absolutely spot on, so super pleased with that sled. Then over to my little router table to put a little round on all the edges except for obviously the back edges. So just thought I'd mention I've got over 300 subscribers now. I can't believe it. I'm so pleased with that. So a great big thank you for everyone supporting the channel, and anyone new, please hit that subscribe button below, like and share. That'd be great, thank you. So next, on to everyone's favourite part, the sanding. The usual here, going down through the grits till we're lovely and smooth, and then a couple of coats of Screwfix no nonsense Danish oil. Now onto the pegs. These are £8.50 for a packet of 4 on Amazon. I decided I would use 3 in this shelf, although I could possibly have got away with 2, but better to be safe than sorry. Now the clever part of these supports is the threaded part is offset from the center from the main protruding peg. Now what this means is any discrepancy in your drilling, you can just rotate them, which will then re-level the pegs. So yeah, that's the part that I think is quite clever. So next I get this shelf supported, and I'm going to mark off the center point of the shelf and the spacing for my 3 holes I'm going to drill. So obviously you need to try and drill these as straight as you possibly can. You could use a square as a guide, but because of the offset, if you're a tiny bit out, you can rotate the peg and all will be well. Now a good tip here would be, if you've got an automatic center punch or just a center punch, just to mark, give yourself a little mark just so you've got an exact start for your drill bit. So as you can see, I placed my square up there as a guide and checked around the back or the side if you like to make sure it's going in 90 degrees that direction, and drilled my hole straight through. Now the first drill bit I had wasn't quite deep enough, so I had to change drill bits. Fortunately this was really handy, as the bit I changed to was brand new, much sharper, and went through like butter, so that was really good. Now you're meant to drill a 12mm hole into the shelf. I have often thought about using a 13mm drill piece for this, but the 12mm is super tight and I'm quite happy just to help the shelf in with a block of wood and a hammer, and hopefully when it's time to come out you're not so precious about the shelf and you could just hook it out with a crowbar or something. So after I marked up exactly where I wanted to drill my 3 holes, I did the old tape trick and wrapped some tape around the end of the drill bit just to make sure it didn't go too deep. Now you need to use a 10mm bit for these holes. I use my DeWalt cordless hoover for drilling holes just to catch dust. I drill lots of holes in people's houses. I've had this hoover a few years now and it's next to useless, to be honest. About all it's fit for really is catching dust from the drill bit. But anyway, drilled my 3 holes in the wall, pushed in the raw plugs and the washers and the supports. Now like any screws, I always give it a slight little tap just to take the plug in slightly, and I always find, and I have drilled and plugged and screwed millions of holes in my time, so I always find if you just give it a little tap and a little turn with your fingers, you generally get a much better fixing than if you don't. So these just do up with a 10mm spanner, pretty straightforward, no dramas there. So now for the very simple but clever part of these supports. You can just pop your level on and you can just rotate the peg sticking out the wall in any direction that you need, just to ensure that your level sits on these pegs perfectly flat. I'm actually not doing mine level at the moment. Mine is slightly out of level just to match the top of the architrave on the serving hatch there, otherwise it would look odd. But as I say, such a simple idea and makes it very easy to be much more accurate with your floating shelf. So now for the moment of truth. Time to line up the shelf with the support pegs. What I did there was got it just started, because it is a super tight fit with the 12mm holes, as I said before. So I gently nudged the shelf on with a block of wood and my hammer, and I use the word gently, not lightly at all. But as I say, the 12mm holes are a little bit tight, but it does make for an excellent fixing. I gave it a last coat of Danish oil, mostly to get rid of the marks that you can see underneath where it had sat on the bits of wood between coats in the garage, which was a bit annoying, but these things happen. So there we have it, a super simple way to fit floating shelves to a wall, whether you make the shelf yourself or you just buy a piece all ready to go. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. I'll leave links to the supports in the description below, along with any tools that I may have used. Again, hit that like and subscribe button, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.